2012, I had my first baby. He's a little boy. And I found myself at home, and my husband was at work. Things were quiet all day, every day. So I pulled this book off my bookshelf, and it had a specific concept that has totally impacted my parenting, but also impacted my life. Today I'll share 3 reasons why and 2 actions how to move forward with how to learn how to ask questions. Hi, my name's Cami. I have struggled with my own chronic health issues for over 12 years, and I truly believe that as I invite others into their story and giving them the skill to gain words to explain their story, that it can transform and reform their health. Today, I wanted to share a story of how I started learning how to develop questions, asking questions, and broaden my perspective. So this is the book that it's called How Will You Measure Your Life by Clayton Christensen with a couple co-authors. I link a blog post with more of the quotes from this book and more of the information below. So Clayton talks about research that had been done with children and learning language in the first year and a half of life. Such a crucial developmental period of life. Not only do they need to hear words though, there's this concept called language dancing, and it involves asking questions. Questions like, do you think it will rain today? Do you want to wear the red one or the blue one? Remember, first 18 months of the child's life, they're not going to give a lot of response back, but still asking questions has benefits for the child. So it says, in short, when a parent engages in extra talk, many more of the synapses pathways in a child's brain are exercised and refined. In simple terms, the more pathways that are created between synapses in the brain, the more efficiently connections are formed. This makes the subsequent pattern of thought easier and faster. After I had read this concept about language dancing and asking children questions, I went outside in the city, and we lived in a little apartment complex. It was very small, like a rectangle shape apartment complex with 5 other units. And I would sit covered in the shade of the stairwell, and I would start asking my son questions. And it really it was almost like I reeled back time. I had the time to spend in that period of time. And I asked him questions like, how does the wind feel on your face? What do you see? How does the sunshine look? What does green look like? Because we were just looking at the scenery outside. Can you hear that bird? And I really took mindful time to learn how to ask questions. The first reason that developing this skill of asking questions was so important because it was hugely important for the development of my children. An old style way of parenting is more of a command, like, go get your shoes on. As I practice asking questions through the years, what I've learned is it's a gift that you're giving your child to allow them to interpret what's happening in their world and the world around them without your biased opinion. And it also helps you to see what their individual perception is and helps them develop perspective, but helps you understand what their perspective is. When you allow your child to voice what they're viewing, feeling, tasting, touching, you realize that the lens you view life from is yours and only yours. There's so much to gain and learn from their perspective. The third reason that I've loved developing this idea of asking questions to my children is that it's given me that skill to learn how to ask questions, which is such a gift. I now get to ask myself similar questions, and I've developed an inner inquirer. That's the goal when we're healing, we want to start understanding, listening, and developing this idea of I can ask myself questions and start to begin to understand myself. A takeaway from this video is that I invite you to take the conscious time to learn how to begin to ask questions, really thoughtful, insightful, understanding questions. This skill is not part of our subconscious unless we take quiet, mindful, deliberate time. It was such a gift that I had that time when my first child was born, and that I read about language dancing and how important it was for the child's brain development. But it also has been a gift for me through my chronic illness history to start learning how to ask myself questions to help unravel so much of my story. So much of the time I walk away from a conversation and think, oh, I should have asked that person this question. And so I rewind, work in reverse, and when I'm on my way home, I start vocalizing it out loud in the car, or I come home and write the question down on paper. This way, I'm still developing this skill of asking questions, but I'm also can utilize it later if I see that person like 2 weeks later. Then, oh, I was going to ask you da 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 da, and it comes out so much more naturally because it's kind of like you're doing it the second time because you've already tried in the car or written it down, and so it just is a really fluid way to it just comes out more fluidly when you ask later. Plus, you're just developing this wonderful skill and gift. Also, I linked below a post of how I developed an inner inquirer and how much that's blessed and benefited through my healing process, benefited me through my healing process. And please join me on my website and blog, because I've opened up with rawness and realness. And so much investigative work. So my invitation is slow down and start to ask questions. Even if you have adult grown children or you have a friend that you don't understand, please join me on my blog post below where I have sourced more of this information.